What if I told you the woman crying at the ATM would become the reason his entire life changed forever? Most people walked right past her that Tuesday afternoon. She was standing there, mascara running down her face, staring at a bank rejection letter like it was the end of the world. And honestly, for her, it probably felt like it was. But one guy, broke as hell with exactly $20.37 to his name, stopped. And what happened next proves that sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of timing when it comes to delivering karma. So this is the story of James Parker, a 34-year-old graphic designer who had just been laughed out of Capital Trust Bank. Yeah, literally laughed at. He'd walked in there with a business plan, a portfolio of his work, and a dream of getting a small business loan to start his own design agency. The loan officer, this middle-aged guy with a smug grin, looked at James's credit score, looked at his current bank balance, and actually chuckled. Said something like, "Maybe try a lemonade stand first, buddy." James left that bank feeling about 2 inches tall, questioning every life decision he'd ever made. He was walking to the bus stop when he saw her. This woman, probably in her late 50s, wearing a wrinkled business suit, just sobbing outside an ATM. Her hands were shaking as she held this crumpled piece of paper. Now James could have kept walking. He had his own problems. $20 doesn't go far when you've got rent due in 3 days and your freelance client just ghosted you after you finished their entire project. But something made him stop. Maybe it was because he recognized that look of complete defeat. He'd just seen it in his own reflection. "Hey, are you okay?" James asked, knowing full well she wasn't. The woman looked up at him with these red, puffy eyes. "I'm losing everything," she said, her voice cracking. "My restaurant. 23 years I've been running it. 23 years of 7-day weeks, missed birthdays, sacrificed vacations. And the bank they rejected my loan application. Equipment broke down. I need new ovens, and without them, I can't fulfill my catering contracts. Without those contracts, I lose the restaurant." James felt his stomach drop. Different situations. Same soul-crushing rejection from the same type of people who treat you like you're worthless if you don't already have money. He looked at the $20 bill in his wallet. It was supposed to get him through until Friday, when a client payment was maybe going to hit his account. But standing there, looking at this woman who'd put 2 decades into her dream while he was just starting to chase his, something shifted. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah," she managed to say between sniffles. "Sarah Mitchell." James pulled out his 20. "Sarah, I can't fix your problem. I wish I could. But maybe this helps you get home, grab a coffee, take a breath. I've been where you are, like literally 2 hours ago. Different bank, same rejection. And I know $20 isn't going to save your restaurant, but maybe it buys you enough time to figure out the next step." Sarah stared at the money like he'd just offered her a winning lottery ticket. "I can't take this. You clearly need it too. Which is exactly why I know what it means when a stranger shows you kindness when you're at rock bottom," James said, pressing it into her hand. "Take it. Pay it forward someday when you're back on top." She took the money with tears streaming down her face, but this time they were different tears. She hugged him, thanked him about 17 times, and James walked to the bus stop feeling broker than ever, but somehow a little lighter. A week went by. James survived on ramen and the 2 cans of soup he found in the back of his pantry. The client payment never came through, shocking exactly no one. He was starting to draft emails to move back in with his parents when his phone rang. From an unknown number. "Is this James Parker?" a woman's voice asked. "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Sarah Mitchell. We met last week outside the ATM. I know this is going to sound absolutely insane, but are you free this afternoon? I need to talk to you about something important." James, having nothing but time and desperation, agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown. When he got there, Sarah looked completely different. The wrinkled suit was gone, replaced by professional attire that screamed success. Her hair was done. She wasn't crying. Actually, she was smiling. "I need to tell you what happened after we met," Sarah said, ordering them both coffee and insisting on paying. "So I took your $20, and instead of going straight home like a logical person, I was so angry at that bank that I decided to walk to their main headquarters downtown. I was going to give them a piece of my mind, consequences be damned. When I got there, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in 15 years. My old college roommate, Rebecca. James sipped his coffee, not sure where this was going, but invested enough to keep listening. Rebecca and I lost touch after graduation. Life happened, you know. But seeing her there, breaking down in the lobby of this bank building, we ended up talking for 3 hours. I told her about my restaurant, the Rejection, everything. Turns out Rebecca isn't just any random person at that bank. She's the CEO of Capital Trust Bank. James almost spit out his coffee. Wait, Capital Trust? That's the bank that rejected me. I know, Sarah said, her smile getting wider. Because after I told her my story, she asked if anything else happened that day. I told her about you, about the stranger, who gave me his last $20 when he clearly needed it himself. She asked for your name, and James, she looked you up in their system. The color drained from James's face. Oh God, she saw my rejection. She saw more than that. She saw the loan officer's notes, the dismissive comments, the way he treated you. And she was livid. Apparently, this wasn't the first complaint about this particular employee, but it was the final straw. He was fired the next day. James sat there stunned. The guy who humiliated him was gone because of a chain of events that started with $20 and a crying stranger. But Sarah wasn't done. Rebecca also reviewed your business plan, the one that was rejected. And James, she said it was actually really solid. The previous loan officer didn't even read past the first page. She wants to meet with you tomorrow to discuss funding, options for your design agency. James felt like the room was spinning. Are you serious right now? Dead serious. But there's more. Sarah leaned forward. That $20 you gave me? I used it to buy ingredients for one last meal. I made my signature dish, my grandmother's recipe that I used to build my whole restaurant around. I brought it to Rebecca's office as a thank you. She loved it so much that she connected me with 3 investors who were looking to fund restaurant expansions. As of yesterday, I have the money for my equipment. My catering contracts are saved, and I'm opening a second location next year. James couldn't speak. He just sat there, staring at this woman who'd gone from sobbing at an ATM to saving her business and somehow saving his in the process. The point is, Sarah continued, you gave me $20 when you had nothing. You gave me hope when I'd lost all of it. And because of that one moment of kindness, both our lives are completely different now. Rebecca wants to meet you at 2 p.m. tomorrow at Capital Trust headquarters. She's prepared to offer you a small business loan with terms that actually make sense for a startup. I already told her I'd vouch for you. And trust me, after she tasted my cooking, my word carries some weight now. James met with Rebecca the next day. She personally apologized for how he'd been treated, explained the changes she was implementing in their loan approval process, and offered him a loan that would actually give his design agency a real shot. She said something that stuck with him. In banking, we've forgotten that we're supposed to invest in people, not just numbers on a screen. Your act of kindness reminded me why I got into this business in the first place. 3 months later, James's design agency was up and running. His first major client, Sarah's restaurant group, which now had the budget for professional branding across both locations. 6 months after that, he'd hired 2 employees and moved into an actual office space instead of working from his tiny apartment. But here's the thing that gets me about this whole story. James didn't give Sarah that $20 as some strategic investment in his future. He did it because he saw another human being in pain and wanted to help, even when he was drowning himself. He didn't know she'd run into a bank CEO. He didn't know it would lead to anything except him eating one less meal that week. He just knew that kindness mattered, even when, especially when, you can barely afford it. There's this study from the University of California that found acts of generosity actually trigger the same parts of your brain that respond to pleasure and reward. Helping others literally makes you feel good on a chemical level. But more than that, researchers have found that kindness creates ripple effects we can't predict. One act of generosity can influence dozens of people down the line. It's called paying it forward. But science shows it's more like a chain reaction. What happened with James and Sarah isn't just a feel-good story. It's proof that the world is smaller and more connected than we think. That loan officer, who mocked James, probably never thought twice about it after he went home that day. He had no idea the woman crying outside was about to run into his boss's best friend. He didn't know his casual Cruelty would cost him his job while someone else's casual kindness would build two successful businesses. James still keeps that rejection letter from his first loan application in his office. He says it reminds him of two things. One, that failure and rejection are just redirects to better opportunities. And two, that you never know whose life you're changing when you choose kindness over convenience. Sarah's restaurant, by the way, now has a policy where every Tuesday, they give free meals to anyone who comes in and says they're struggling. She calls it $20 Tuesdays in honor of the stranger who gave her hope when she had none. Last year alone, they served over 3,000 free meals. So yeah, James gave his last $20 to a crying stranger at an ATM, and a week later, she knew the CEO of the bank that rejected him. But the real story here isn't about karma or cosmic justice or lucky coincidences. It's about the fact that we're all one bad day away from being the person crying at the ATM, and we're all one kind gesture away from changing someone's entire life trajectory, sometimes both at the same time. Click the next video to see what happened when a homeless man returned a lost wallet and discovered the owner was his childhood best friend.